Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
What keeps you steady when chaos strikes and doubt begins to creep in? Is it luck, circumstance, or something deeper? The truth may surprise you. When the world presses harder each day, how do you stay calm and confident instead of crumbling under pressure? The answer lies in the mindset you choose to build. And here's the question that connects it all. What are you truly aiming at in life? And are you willing to stake everything on it? It isn't chance that grounds you. It's the inner strength to remain calm, steady, and sure when storms rise. That quiet force shapes your reactions, your choices, and ultimately your success. In a world that never stops challenging you, cultivating a resilient mindset is not optional. It's essential. Tap into the power within and discover how clear, calm thinking becomes your greatest advantage. Very soon, you'll understand why your mindset is everything. You are not here to drift aimlessly like a leaf carried by the wind. You are the builder of your future, the craftsman of your destiny. But how often do you stop to ask yourself, what am I really aiming for? Without a definite purpose, life becomes like wandering into a forest with no idea what you're hunting. Each day then becomes a copy of the last. Energy scatters, like light blurred through a dirty window. But once you hold on to a purpose so clear it feels etched into your very bones, everything changes. You no longer wake wondering what the day will bring. You decide it. When your thoughts center on one meaningful goal, your decisions align. Energy becomes fire instead of scattered sparks. Imagine standing in an open field, bow in hand. You pull back the string, release the arrow, but without a target, what's the point? So why move through life without setting a clear purpose? Ask yourself, what goal is worth your time, your effort, your very breath? You don't need 100 answers. You just need one that matters deeply. Your definite purpose is not a fantasy, it's a decision. The moment you decide, the fog begins to lift. Life no longer feels random. You walk with direction, and with direction comes confidence. Purpose makes you powerful because you stop waiting and start moving. Belief becomes the foundation of achievement, and you are far more capable than you've ever dared to think. Every man or woman who built something great started with nothing but a spark of belief. But what happens when you let doubt take the wheel? You stall, you second guess, waiting for a perfect moment that never arrives. You look for permission to begin, when in truth, you already hold it. Those who achieve, who build from nothing, don't wait for the world to believe in them. They believe first. And in time, the world follows. When belief is strong, it feels like steel beneath your feet. You step forward, not because fear is gone, but because belief whispers that you're ready to handle what comes. Setbacks no longer feel like signs to stop, but signals to adjust. Failure stops being final and instead becomes fuel. Picture a farmer planting seed in barren soil. He doesn't know if rain will fall or if the sun will rise each day. Yet he plants, waters, and waits. Why? Because he believes in the harvest. So ask yourself, are you planting your goals with belief, or holding the seeds in fear they'll never grow? The world will not hand you guarantees. It will reflect back what you believe to be true about yourself. See yourself as strong, persistent, and creative, and you will act that way. And those actions create real results. Don't wait for confidence to appear after success. You must live as the man or woman you intend to become. Belief must walk ahead of achievement, guiding it forward. Believe, and the door opens. Discipline over desire, because deep down, you already know what needs to be done. The hard part is acting even when you don't feel like it. That's where most people turn back. They surrender to mood, to comfort, to the easy path. But if you want to win, you must choose discipline. Desire is a guest that often arrives late. You can't depend on it. Discipline, however, is the mule that pulls your wagon through mud and snow. A person who lives by discipline cannot be defeated easily. Whether skies are gray or golden, they show up. Whether the task excites or bores, they execute. That is real freedom, not doing whatever you want, but doing what's necessary, no matter how you feel. Imagine a blacksmith forging a blade. He cannot skip steps. He must heat the steel, hammer it, fold it again and again. He cannot say, I don't feel like shaping today. Without the process, the blade is weak. Are you shaping your life with the same commitment? Do you remain consistent when it's dull or painful, or only act when the mood is right. Discipline means doing what must be done. Even when the fire burns low, it means making a decision once and honoring it daily without debate. That is how great work is built, how character is formed, how confidence grows. Not from bursts of passion, but from steady persistence. Discipline does not limit you, it frees you. It gives you the power to decide, to move, to succeed on your own terms. Persistence through adversity is the true test. Every man meets resistance. It is life's way of asking, do you really want this? And your answer is not in words, but in whether or not you keep moving forward. The question takes many forms. It shows up as the rejection letter that lands after months of effort. It appears as the friend who walks away when you need them most. It whispers through the voices of critics who mock your dreams and the inner doubts that question your worth. Life doesn't ask this question once. It asks it again and again, until you either prove your commitment or surrender your vision. Along the way, you may encounter delays, disappointment, betrayal, even ridicule. But if your vision is clear and your desire true, you will outlast them. You will endure storm after storm, fueled by a quiet fire inside. This isn't the dramatic blaze of early enthusiasm that fades quickly. It's the steady ember that glows in darkness, the warmth that sustains you when everything else grows cold. Too many give up after a single setback. They mistake difficulty for defeat. Yet adversity is not a signal to quit. It is a mirror, reflecting the strength of your determination. When resistance comes, it isn't punishment. It is a test. The universe examines whether you truly have the fortitude to handle what you seek. Think of a river cutting through rock. It doesn't stop because the stone is hard. Drop by drop, year after year, it carves canyons. That is the power of steady, unrelenting action. The river does not rage at the rock or curse its hardness. It simply continues, patient and persistent, until the impossible becomes inevitable. Imagine building with your own hands, sweat dripping, muscles aching, day after day. Others pass by, shaking their heads, asking why you waste your time. But you see what they cannot, a vision. And if you hold on, one day they will see it too. The cathedral builder lays stone by stone, knowing he may never see the spire completed. The entrepreneur fails and rebuilds, driven by a future only he can imagine. The artist creates in solitude, painting dreams that one day the world will call masterpieces. What are you building that makes the struggle worthwhile? What would you regret abandoning? These questions cut to the heart of purpose, the line between simple desire and true calling. When you find something worth relentless effort, resistance becomes fuel rather than an obstacle. Adversity is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It builds endurance when comfort would make you weak. It sparks creativity when the easy path disappears. It develops strength where surrender would be easier. But only if you stay in the room long enough to learn. Only if you choose to see setbacks as lessons, not condemnation, do you keep showing up. Even slow progress matters, because persistence turns dreams into reality, stone into monuments, and ordinary lives into unstoppable ones. Fear is not the master, it's the servant. You've felt it before. The tight chest, racing thoughts, second-guessing everything you once believed you could do. That weight settles in your stomach like a stone, and suddenly the world feels too vast, too dangerous, too uncertain. Your hands may tremble, your breath grows shallow. Every instinct tells you to retreat, to seek safety in the familiar corners of your comfort zone. That is fear, and it will visit often. Sometimes it arrives unannounced, like an unwelcome guest who lingers too long. But what matters is not its arrival, for fear always comes, but whether you allow it to stay. Fear has a way of settling in, spreading across your mind until it feels like a permanent resident. It whispers stories of everything that could go wrong, paints vivid images of failure and embarrassment, and convinces you that staying small is the only safe option. Yet fear was never meant to be your master, though it often tries to take that role. At its core, fear is only a signal, an alarm that rings when you're nearing something significant, something that could change you. It is a servant reminding you that this moment matters. Once you grasp this truth, fear begins to lose its hold. Instead of being paralyzed, you learn to interpret its message and act with clarity. The strongest people you admire aren't fearless. That's a myth. They simply know how to use fear as fuel instead of letting it stand as a wall. They treat it like a scientist studying a specimen, questioning it instead of accepting its warnings as fact. They even talk back to it, challenging its assumptions and demanding proof. Most importantly, they move forward anyway, carrying fear as a companion rather than treating it as an immovable barrier. Picture a man standing before a vast river. The water stretches endlessly, the current is fierce, the depths uncertain, and the far shore seems impossibly distant. The water is cold enough to steal your breath, wide enough to swallow your courage, and mysterious enough to hide 1,000 imagined dangers. Fear says, stay where it's safe. You know this ground beneath your feet. The rules of this side are familiar. But courage whispers something else. Swim and discover what waits on the other shore. What river are you standing before right now? What idea, action, or change have you delayed because fear told you stories that aren't true? Maybe it's the business you've dreamed of starting, the relationship you've wanted to pursue, or the creative project that calls to you in quiet moments. Perhaps it's a conversation you need to have, a boundary you must set, or a dream carried for years but never dared to chase. Fear insists you're not ready, that you need more preparation, more certainty, more guarantees. It warns you of spectacular failure, of harsh judgment. People will misunderstand you. They'll view your choices through the lens of their own limited experience, misjudging your motives and weaving stories based on gossip passed from one neighbor to the next like a game of telephone. Some will place you too high, building a pedestal you never asked to stand on. Others will tear you down unfairly, finding fault where none exists, just to feel better about themselves. But the real question is this: what will guide your steps? Will you chase reputation or build character? That choice will shape every decision you make, every relationship you hold, every moment at the crossroads between what's easy and what's right. Reputation is what others think of you, a fragile mix of opinions, assumptions, and half-truths that shift like sand in the wind. It's built on appearances, on the stories shared at dinner tables and community meetings. Character, however, is who you are when no one is watching, when there's no audience to impress, no cameras recording, no one keeping score. It's the person revealed in the quiet moments when it's just you, your conscience, and your choices. One fades like yesterday's headlines. The other endures like the foundation stones of a well-built house, growing stronger with time and weathering every storm. If your worth rises and falls with public opinion, you'll become like a weather vane on an old farm, spinning endlessly with every gust of wind, never rooted, never steady, never certain of your direction. You'll find yourself constantly adjusting your behavior depending on who's watching, saying one thing here and another there, shifting so often that you lose sight of your true color. But when your decisions are anchored in your values, not from the promise of applause or the fear of criticism, but from something rarer, you find peace. Not the fleeting satisfaction of being liked, but the deep and lasting peace that comes from knowing you've been true to yourself and to what you believe is right. Think of the great oak in the town square. It has stood through decades of storms and seasons. Above ground, it looks impressive with its broad trunk and branches that offer shade in summer and shelter in winter. Yet its real strength lies beneath the surface, in roots unseen by passers-by, digging deep into the earth, steady and sure, drawing life from sources that never run dry. Are your choices guided by what is right, or by what only appears right to the crowd? This question will test you again and again. Sometimes in small decisions, sometimes in moments that define your life. You'll feel tempted to exaggerate your stories, to seem more important than you are. You'll feel tempted to take the easy path because it brings quick approval, to follow popular opinion even when it goes against your better judgment. But hold firm to what you know is true and good. Do the work when no one is watching. The small acts of kindness, the honest labor, the quiet discipline that shapes character as water shapes stone. Keep your word, even when it costs you. Even when breaking it would be easier, stand by your principles, especially when they demand sacrifice. Doing right may mean walking away from something you want or enduring criticism from people whose approval you value. Reputation may open doors, earn invitations, or secure opportunities. But character is what keeps those doors open. It sustains relationships and builds trust that lasts through both good times and hard ones. In the quiet hours, when the house is still and you're alone with your thoughts, you will know who you really are. That peace, that integrity, that unshakable sense of worth. No crowd can give it, and no crowd can take it away. Your energy is sacred, Guard it well. You are not a machine, and you cannot keep giving without cost, no matter how much the world expects of you, or how much you demand of yourself. Your energy, mental, physical, and emotional, is the wellspring from which everything else flows. Your decisions, ideas, focus, joy, your capacity to love, create, and contribute all depend on it. Yet too often, we act as if it were endless. We spend it carelessly, pouring it into people who don't deserve it and situations that only drain us. When you treat your energy as limitless, burnout is inevitable. The warning signs appear long before collapse. The irritability that creeps in, tasks that suddenly feel impossible, the joy fading from things you once loved. When you give your energy to every empty argument, every complaint that changes nothing, every task that adds no value to your life or anyone else's, you end the day feeling hollow, drained, wondering where the time went and how you could be so busy yet accomplish so little. So little of what we chase truly matters. You must learn to protect your energy the way a farmer guards water in a drought. Every drop becomes precious when scarcity reveals its value. The farmer doesn't waste water on weeds destined to wither. He channels it to the crops that sustain life. Your energy deserves the same careful stewardship. Ask yourself honestly, who receives your best hours? Are you giving your peak energy to what matters most, or spending it on trivial things, only to feel drained when it's time to focus on what truly counts? What drains you without return? Which conversations, commitments, or mental habits quietly steal your vitality while offering nothing in exchange? And what restores you? Which activities, relationships, or environments actually replenish your strength instead of depleting it? There is real power in choosing not to answer every insult, in realizing some battles cost more than they could ever repay. There is wisdom in walking away from draining conversations, in saying no without guilt when requests don't align with your values or goals. There is wisdom in resting when rest is needed, instead of pushing through exhaustion out of pride. Picture a man climbing a mountain with a heavy pack on his shoulders. The summit is his destination, and the journey demands everything he has. If he loads his pack with stones that aren't his to carry, other people's problems, needless worries, obligations without purpose, he won't make it far before collapsing under the weight. The wise traveler carries only what belongs to him, what serves his journey, what helps him reach the summit. You carry your own weight in this life, and that is enough. More than enough. So what have you been carrying that doesn't belong to you? What emotional baggage? What expectations placed on you by others? What outdated beliefs about who you should be or what you must do? These invisible burdens weigh more heavily than any physical load ever could. Protect your energy, not because you are fragile, for you are stronger than you realize, but because your mission demands clarity and strength. The work you're called to do, the relationships that matter most, the contributions you long to make, all require your best self, not the leftovers after you've poured yourself out everywhere else. Save your best for what matters most. Stop giving your prime energy to secondary concerns while your true purposes go neglected. Within you burns a fire, a unique flame fueled by your own passion, purpose, and potential. Don't let it fade because you keep fueling things that never lit you up in the first place. Guard that fire. Feed it wisely. Let it shine bright for the things that truly matter. Success is not an accident. It is a habit. Too many believe it arrives like lightning, sudden and random, flashing in an instant to change everything. Many wait for that sudden spark of inspiration, the breakthrough idea, or the lucky chance that will change everything. But real success doesn't blaze across the sky. It builds quietly, day by day, through steady habits. Success is not an event, but a process, not a final destination, but a journey of small, consistent steps. It takes shape in the early hours when the world is still asleep, in the late nights when others have already quit, in the countless ordinary moments when no one is watching and no one is cheering. You don't stumble into achievement or accidentally fall into excellence. You rise through routine, through deliberate actions you repeat even after the excitement fades, even when motivation disappears, even when the work feels dull and the results seem invisible. The successful person wakes before the world expects, not because he loves the early hour, but because he knows success is claimed in the margins of life, in the time most surrender to sleep or comfort. He plans while others react. He writes while others consume. He moves while others remain still. He works while others wait for the perfect moment. Not because he's lucky. Luck is only preparation meeting opportunity, but because he's disciplined. And this leads to the real question: what are your daily habits? Do your habits carry you closer to your goals, or do they lull you into complacency? Are you laying the foundation for the life you want, or quietly building barriers to your own success? Imagine two people starting in the same place. One chooses to read just 15 minutes a day, picking books that challenge his thinking and expand his understanding. A week passes, and there's no visible difference between them. A month goes by, and they still appear the same. But a year later, something has shifted. A decade passes, and the gap has widened into a chasm. One has built wisdom, knowledge, and perspective that guide every decision. The other is left with regret and the haunting weight of wasted time. Your results are the fruit of your habits, not your wishes. You can dream endlessly, set bold goals, and make sincere resolutions, but none of it matters if your daily actions don't align with your aspirations. The one who wishes to be a writer but never writes remains only a dreamer. The one who wants health but never exercises stays weak. The one who longs for wisdom but never learns remains ignorant. The beauty of habits is that they don't demand massive effort or dramatic change. They require only consistency, small actions repeated every day. Like interest in a savings account, they compound slowly at first, then grow faster with time. Habits build your future long before it becomes visible, creating momentum that eventually feels unstoppable. So decide now, what one habit could you commit to that moves you forward? Not 10, not a complete life overhaul, but one simple, sustainable action repeated daily. Protect it like treasure, guard it against anything that would steal it away. Laziness, distraction, the voice that says it doesn't matter. These will always try to interfere. But that habit becomes your edge, your secret, your strength. Over time, habits shape identity. The one who runs every day becomes a runner. The one who writes every day becomes a writer. The one who learns every day becomes wise. Identity becomes results, and results over the span of a lifetime become legacy. Yet in a world that constantly pushes you to do more, chase more, and run after the next goal or distraction, stillness feels almost unnatural. We've been conditioned to believe that movement equals progress, that constant activity signals importance, that being busy is the same as being productive. But clarity is found in the quiet spaces between the noise, in the moments when you pause long enough to remember who you are beneath all the doing. When you slow down, not from laziness or procrastination, but with deliberate intention, you begin to truly see. The world sharpens into focus. You notice what matters and what you've mistaken for importance. You hear your own voice again, the inner wisdom drowned out by constant obligations and expectations. You develop the ability to separate signal from noise, the essential from the merely urgent. This isn't passivity. A calm mind is not empty. It is sharp, focused, resilient. It's the difference between reacting impulsively to every distraction and responding thoughtfully to what deserves your attention. The difference between panic and poise, between being driven by circumstance and being guided by purpose. Picture walking through a field covered in thick fog. Every step feels uncertain, and if you run too fast, desperate to reach the end, you stumble over unseen obstacles. Veer off course, and you exhaust yourself fighting shadows. But when you pause, when you allow your vision to adjust, something remarkable happens. The fog doesn't vanish, but you learn to navigate it. You discover the path that was always there, hidden beneath the rush and anxiety. When was the last time you truly paused? Not the quick break between tasks, not the distracted flipping through a magazine, but real stillness. The kind where you sit quietly and ask yourself the questions that matter. Is this the direction I want my life to take? Is this how I want to spend my days? Am I living by my values, or just reacting to whatever screams for my attention? Stillness is not wasted time, no matter what the culture suggests. It is gathering time. It is sharpening the axe before you attempt to cut through the wood of your challenges. The woodcutter who sharpens his blade accomplishes more in less time than the one who hacks frantically with a dull edge. The same principle applies to your mind, your decisions, your entire way of living. The world will tempt you to stay busy, to fill every moment with motion, to mistake constant activity for true progress. Advertisements will parade people who seem endlessly successful, always moving, always achieving. Newspapers will flood your mind with urgent demands that insist on immediate attention. But remember, motion is not progress. A hamster runs endlessly on its wheel, but never moves forward. Noise is not wisdom. The loudest voice at the town meeting is not necessarily the wisest. Hurry is not power. True power comes from knowing when to act and when to wait, when to push ahead and when to step back. Create space in your life for stillness. Take walks without destinations, where the only goal is to move your body and clear your mind. Write in a journal, not to share or publish, but to clarify your thoughts and feelings. Sit in silence, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your mind tries to fill it with worries about tomorrow or regrets about yesterday. Let your inner voice rise above the noise of a world crowded with opinions, advice, and expectations. You must remember what you truly think, what you truly want, what you truly believe. That voice can only be heard in stillness, when you're not performing for others or trying to meet someone else's standards. In the quiet, you don't just hear yourself better, you become yourself better. You remember who you are beneath the roles you play and the expectations you carry. You reconnect with your core values, your deepest desires, your truest self. Vision without work, however, is just a dream. You may picture the life you want, the person you hope to become, the legacy you wish to leave behind when your time is done. That vision is powerful. It pulls you forward when everything else pushes you back. It gives meaning to struggle and purpose to pain. But without work, without the daily grind that turns dreams into reality, vision becomes nothing more than a mirage. A beautiful illusion that fades each time you draw near. Many people dream. Walk into a coffee shop, a bar, or any gathering of friends, and you'll hear them talk with passion and conviction about what they're going to do, who they'll become, and how they'll change their lives. Their eyes shine with possibility, but few ever act. The difference between dreamers and achievers isn't talent, luck, or even opportunity. The difference is sweat, effort, repetition, the willingness to show up day after day, even when the work is hard and progress feels slow. A vision is like an architect's blueprint for a magnificent building. Every detail is carefully drawn. The soaring ceilings, elegant columns, the way sunlight will filter through the windows. On paper, it's inspiring and beautiful. But without bricks, mortar, and the labor of construction, it remains only that, paper. The structure never rises. The dream lives only in the imagination of its creator. So what are you building today that your future self will thank you for? What effort are you making right now to turn vision into reality? Not someday when conditions are perfect, not next year when you think you'll have more time, not when motivation finally arrives, but now. What small but significant step can you take today that moves you closer to the life you imagine? Picture a man standing on an empty plot of land, describing in vivid detail the mansion he will build. He talks of grand staircases, marble floors, gardens bursting with spring flowers. His vision is clear, his passion real, his plans elaborate. Yet year after year, there is no shovel in his hand, no foundation laid, no stone set, only words carried away by the wind. Is that what you're doing with your goals? Are you the one who talks about writing a book but never writes a page? Who dreams of starting a business but never takes the first step? Who imagines getting in shape but never laces up their shoes? Are you living in the comfort of potential where everything seems possible because nothing has yet been tested against reality? It is not enough to imagine, no matter how vivid your vision or noble your intentions. You must move every day, even when life's demands leave you drained, even when progress feels painfully slow, even when doubt whispers that your dreams are too big, too ambitious, too unlikely. Because vision with action is a force strong enough to move mountains, change lives, and transform the world. But vision without action is only a ghost, beautiful, yet powerless. You don't need to get everything right today. Perfection isn't required, and you don't need all the answers before you begin. What you do need is to get to work. Pick up the tools, roll up your sleeves, and start building something real. Otherwise, your years will pass in vivid dreams while someone else builds what you only talked about. The true tragedy isn't failing to achieve your vision. It's never daring to try. The deepest heartbreak doesn't come from falling short, but from never taking the first step. Confidence comes through preparation. You want to stay calm under pressure, to speak with strength, to walk with certainty, to act without hesitation. But that kind of confidence isn't born from luck. It's built quietly, through steady, unseen work. There's a stillness in the man who has prepared. While others fidget and second-guess, he carries a calm that runs deeper than surface composure. It isn't the false bravado of someone pretending to be ready, but the assurance of one who has already fought the battle in his mind, practiced the moves in his body, and rehearsed the answers in his heart. A prepared man is never caught off guard. He may not control the outcome, but he controls himself. And in this world, that is real power. True power isn't about dominating others or forcing circumstances to bend to your will. It's the ability to stay centered in chaos, to respond instead of react, to choose your actions rather than be driven by impulse or fear. Confidence built on charm is fragile. It crumbles the moment no one laughs at your jokes or validates your presence. Confidence built on appearance fades when someone else outshines you. But confidence built on preparation? That's unshakable. You face challenges not wondering if you'll survive, but knowing you've already done the work. You've anticipated the questions, practiced the skills, and prepared for whatever may come. Like a soldier sharpening his blade before battle, he doesn't wait until danger appears. He prepares. In the quiet hours before dawn, he checks his gear, studies the maps, and runs through scenarios in his mind. He knows that when the moment arrives, there will be no time for hesitation. In the same way, you prepare by studying when others are sleeping, practicing when others are playing, and rehearsing while others are resting. You fail in private so you can succeed in public. Preparation is rarely glamorous. It happens in empty rooms and silent hours. It's the writer shaping sentences at 4 in the morning, the entrepreneur analyzing market trends on weekends, the athlete running even when his body begs for rest. It's the 1,000 small acts of discipline no one sees, but everyone eventually benefits from. What are you doing today to prepare for the life you claim you want? Are you reading the books that expand your mind? Practicing the skills that will serve your ambitions? Building habits that will hold you steady under pressure? Or are you waiting for readiness to arrive like a gift from the universe? Don't wish for confidence. Earn it. Don't hope for peace. Create it. It begins with deliberate effort, brick by brick, day by day. Some days the work feels pointless, the progress invisible, but you continue anyway. Preparation is an investment that always pays dividends, even if the results aren't immediate. And when the moment comes, the interview, the opportunity, the decision, you won't panic. You'll perform because you didn't wait to be ready. You made yourself ready. In that moment, the quiet hours of preparation will speak louder than any words. Self-control is inner power. You can't lead your life if you can't lead yourself. The moment you hand the reins to your emotions, you lose direction. Anger makes you snap. Doubt drags you down. Fear spins you into chaos. Why? Because you forget that you are the one steering. The illusion of powerlessness is seductive. It whispers that anger is justified, fear is protective, impulse is honest. But that's a lie that keeps you small. Your emotions are not your master. They are information. They tell you something is happening, but they don't decide how you respond. Self-control is your strongest defense against the chaos of the world. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about staying steady, calm, clear, unshaken. When the world shouts, you listen. When panic rises, you breathe. When temptation knocks, you hold to your values. This isn't suppression or denial. It's sovereignty. Between stimulus and response lies a space, and in that space lives your power to choose. A man without self-control is like a horse without reins, strong but wild. He bolts at every sudden sound, wastes his strength, and collapses before reaching any destination. His power becomes his weakness because it lacks direction. He may be capable of great things, but he'll never achieve them if he can't harness himself. He reacts to everything, responds to nothing, ruled by whichever emotion burns hottest in the moment. Think about it. How many decisions have you made when too angry, too tired, or too tempted? Did they serve you, or leave you with regret? The purchase made in weakness that drained your savings. The words spoken in hurt that can never be taken back. These moments reveal the true cost of emotional leadership. It's expensive, and the price is always paid in the future. Every time you resist an impulse, every time you respond instead of react, you strengthen a muscle more vital than any other, your will. And this muscle doesn't grow through grand gestures, but through small, daily acts of resistance. Your will grows stronger each time you choose the difficult conversation over the comfort of silence. When you stay present with discomfort instead of running from it. When you pause before releasing words spoken in frustration. What if you could hold that pause? What if you could sit with discomfort instead of escaping it? These aren't impossible ideals. They're practical skills you can develop. The pause between feeling and action can be stretched. The space between trigger and response can be widened. But like physical strength, it requires steady practice. You don't need perfection. You need repetition. With every small act of self-control, you build strength. Quietly, gradually, until the storms of life arrive and you remain centered. Others may lose their heads, but you keep yours. Others may be swept away, but you stay anchored. Not because you don't feel the storm, but because you've learned to stand firm within it. Self-control is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of choice. And choice, exercised consistently, becomes character. Character, tested by time, becomes destiny. Every action begins with thought, and every thought is born from a belief about yourself and the world. Your thoughts are the soil. Plant weeds, and don't expect a harvest of wheat. This is the forgotten foundation of transformation. Most people try to change circumstances, relationships, outcomes, yet ignore the very source from which they all spring. They neglect the garden of the mind, then wonder why their efforts bear bitter fruit, or none at all. Every result in your life, your habits, surroundings, and opportunities began as a single thought. Perhaps a thought of fear, perhaps a thought of courage. But everything started there. The man who tells himself, "I always fail," unconsciously sabotages his own efforts. The man who thinks, "I can learn anything," meets challenges with curiosity instead of dread. Both thoughts require the same energy, yet they create entirely different worlds. Neglect the quality of your thinking, and you invite chaos. Your mind becomes a wild garden where every seed that drifts and takes root. Doubt grows beside determination. Fear crowds out faith. Self-criticism chokes gratitude. But when you choose your thoughts like a farmer chooses seed, carefully and with intention, you begin to harvest a life of your design. The process isn't mystical, it's agricultural. A farmer doesn't plant corn by accident and act surprised when corn grows. In the same way, character is cultivated through quiet consistency. A humble person listens more than he speaks, learns from everyone because he doesn't pretend to know everything, works harder because he doesn't assume success is owed to him, and grows faster because he admits when he's wrong. This isn't weakness, it's strategic wisdom. The humble man sees every interaction as a chance to gain knowledge, every mistake as a lesson, every gap in understanding as an opportunity to discover. You've seen the opposite, men puffing their chests, talking over others, trying to dominate every room with noise. They interrupt to insert opinions, drop names to prove worth, and speak with false certainty about things they barely understand. But you know the truth. Noise isn't strength. It's insecurity dressed as ego. The loudest in the room is often the most afraid of being ignored, the most desperate to prove relevance. Now picture the opposite. A quiet man working before dawn while others boast. He doesn't need to announce what he's building. His results will speak for him. He asks questions without shame because he values learning over appearing smart. He gives credit freely, knowing success is rarely achieved alone. He admits mistakes quickly, preferring solutions over image. Are you open to correction? Can you learn from someone younger or less experienced? Do you ask questions without shame? These reveal the difference between false humility and genuine wisdom. False humility says, "I'm nothing." True humility says, "I'm always learning." False humility seeks sympathy. True humility seeks knowledge. Humility makes you teachable. It shields you from the arrogance that blinds men before they fall. Pride creates blind spots, places where a man stops questioning, stops improving. Humility keeps your eyes open and your mind flexible. It knows today's expertise may become tomorrow's limitation, and the person you dismiss might hold the key to your next breakthrough. The humble don't underestimate themselves. They assess themselves honestly. They recognize their strengths without boasting and admit weaknesses without being paralyzed by them. Confidence and humility aren't opposites. They are partners, each strengthening the other. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's seeing yourself clearly. You are always becoming. Those who remember that walk straighter, last longer, and rise higher. They walk straighter because they have nothing to prove and everything to learn. They last longer because they adapt instead of resist. They rise farther because they lift others as they climb, creating networks of support that carry them beyond what solo effort ever could. In a world full of noise, humility is the quiet strength that endures. And courage is always the price of progress. Nothing moves forward without courage, not a business, not a dream, not even a man. Courage isn't loud or reckless. It's a quiet decision that whispers, "I will do this even if I'm scared." Too often, we imagine courage as heroes charging into battle, giving speeches, or making grand gestures that inspire crowds. But true courage is far more intimate. It's the entrepreneur who leaves a safe job to chase an uncertain vision. It's the father who chooses a hard conversation with his son. It's the man who tells the truth when a lie would be easier. These moments happen in ordinary rooms, unseen by most, but they shape everything that follows. There will be times when you feel frozen, when the cost of trying seems too high and doubt drowns out reason. That moment of paralysis is familiar to anyone who has ever attempted something meaningful. It's what happens when possibility collides with risk, when desire meets uncertainty. Your mind will invent 1,000 reasons to wait, to prepare more, to delay. But beneath all those excuses lies a simple truth. You're scared. The question is, will you step forward or stay behind? Your path isn't defined by dramatic, public gestures, but by the small, private choices you make when no one is watching. Progress doesn't reward comfort. It rewards boldness. It honors the man who takes the step, not because the path is clear, but because the goal is worth the risk. The world responds to those who move, who act, who try. Opportunities rarely land in the lap of the hesitant. They are drawn to those who prove they'll do something with them. Think back to the first time you did something hard. Your hands may have shaken, your heart raced, but you did it. And what happened? You changed. You saw yourself differently. You grew. That single act of courage, taken in fear, created a new version of you. The man who stepped forward was not the same man who once stood at the threshold. Action always transforms the actor. No matter the outcome, courage rewards you with growth, respect, and strength, not just from others, but from yourself. Every act of bravery makes a deposit in the account of your character. It proves you can handle hard things. It reminds you that fear is not your master, and that your strength runs deeper than you realized. So, are you delaying a decision because fear keeps whispering? Are you waiting for permission to begin something you already know matters? That permission won't come from the outside. It must be given by you. The world isn't waiting for you to be ready. It keeps moving, offering opportunities only to those who seize them. You don't need guarantees, you need movement. Even 1 inch forward is worth more than a mile of hesitation. Progress isn't built on giant leaps, but on steady steps taken despite uncertainty. The man who moves imperfectly will always be ahead of the man who waits for perfection. The next step may not be easy, but even trembling action is better than standing still. Patience builds what time alone cannot. You plant the seed, you water it, and you trust the process. You don't scream at it to grow. That's patience. Yet in today's culture of instant gratification, where notifications arrive in seconds and success is reduced to viral moments, we've forgotten one of life's deepest truths. The best things take time. Real achievement is never a sprint. Life is not a sprint. It's a marathon, run at a steady pace with faith that every step matters, even when the finish line feels impossibly far away. Some of your greatest results won't come quickly. They'll test you, delay you, frustrate you, and yet, in time, they will come. But this is where most people stumble. They mistake silence for failure, delay for denial. They see the lack of visible progress as proof that their efforts are worthless, their dreams foolish, and that it's better to quit before falling further behind. What they miss is that growth often happens in the invisible spaces between effort and result, where transformation takes place beneath the surface. Patience isn't passive waiting. It's steady work carried out with calm faith, while time does its part. Like a blacksmith at the forge, heating, folding, cooling, and shaping, day after day, until the blade is ready. The blacksmith knows a profound truth: strength can't be rushed. The metal must be heated to the right temperature, folded at the precise moment, and cooled for just the right time. Skip any step, and the result is weakness, brittleness, failure. The master craftsman understands that true quality emerges from the patient repetition of correct actions, performed with excellence over time. Rush the process, and you end up with a fragile sword, a shallow foundation, or a crooked frame. You can't cheat time, but you can work with it. Think of the oak tree. It grows slowly, but stands for centuries, rooted deep, its wood dense, ring by ring. It doesn't race the grass for speed. It prepares to withstand storms. So ask yourself, are you rushing something that needs time to grow? Are you abandoning your work too early just because the results haven't shown yet? That business you started a few months ago, are you already calling it a failure because it hasn't made you rich? That fitness routine you started 6 weeks ago, are you ready to quit just because you don't yet look like the magazine cover model? That relationship you're building, are you impatient because deep intimacy takes time? Unlike instant attraction, real progress rarely shouts. It whispers. But if you keep showing up, stacking effort upon effort, it builds quietly, unshakably. The compound effect of consistency is one of the most underestimated forces in human achievement. Each day's work may feel small, but like drops of water carving stone, persistence creates results that once seemed impossible. The writer who produces a single page a day ends the year with a novel. The investor who saves consistently retires wealthy. The reader who spends 30 minutes each morning grows remarkably educated over time. Your character, your results, your dreams, none are built overnight. They're shaped with patience. And character, especially, cannot be rushed. It's forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you choose what's right even though easier paths are tempting, when you uphold your standards without immediate reward. Each choice builds on the last, forming the foundation of who you become. So yes, wait. But while you wait, work. Let patience be your strength, not your excuse. Because when the time is right, what you've built will stand firm. This is the paradox of patience. It requires both surrender and action, acceptance and effort. You release the timeline, but never the discipline. You accept that results will arrive in their own time, but you prepare yourself so that when they do, you're ready to receive them. Patient building creates structures that endure, achievements that satisfy, and character that sustains success once it arrives. Responsibility, often seen as a burden, is actually freedom in disguise. You may think responsibility weighs you down, but in truth, it's the key to freedom. The moment you stop blaming others, your past, your boss, the weather, or luck, you reclaim your power. A profound shift happens when you fully embrace this truth. It's the difference between being a victim of circumstance and being the architect of your own destiny. Most people resist this shift because they equate responsibility with fault, ownership with guilt, and accountability with punishment. But that misses the most important part. Responsibility isn't about blame, it's about power. When you take ownership of your choices, habits, and results, you're no longer a leaf blown by the wind. You become the captain of your ship. Think of the contrast. A leaf has no say in where it lands. It drifts wherever the seasons and winds carry it. Graceful perhaps, but powerless. A captain, however, works with those same winds that scatter the leaf, using them as tools to steer toward a chosen destination. The captain doesn't control the weather, but always controls the response. That's the transformation that begins the moment you stop making excuses and start making choices. The same circumstances that once seemed to control your life can become raw materials for building the life you truly want. A difficult childhood becomes the foundation of resilience. A failed relationship teaches you the value of boundaries. Losing a job can be the push that leads you toward your true calling. Yet too many waste years saying, if only this hadn't happened. If only someone had helped me. If only times were better. But those words build nothing. Only action creates change. The if only game is seductive because it removes the pressure of actually doing something. It convinces you that success depends on perfect conditions, that happiness requires others' cooperation, that progress is impossible without the right timing. Comfort may feel safe, but it is the enemy of growth and the greatest enemy of achievement. Every moment spent crafting the perfect excuse is a moment not spent creating a real, imperfect solution. Every hour invested in explaining why something can't be done is an hour not invested in figuring out how it can be done. The energy you spend defending your limitations could instead be used to build the very capabilities that eliminate them. You are where you are today because of the thoughts you've allowed and the choices you've made. That's not a reason for shame. It's a reason for empowerment. This realization can feel uncomfortable, even shocking. It means your current situation, whatever it is largely the result of your own patterns of thought and choice. If you're unhappy, you played a role in creating that unhappiness. If you feel unfulfilled, you helped construct that emptiness. If you're struggling, your decisions contributed to the struggle. But here's why this truth is freeing, not crushing. If you created your present reality, you also hold the power to create a different one. You're not a victim of random forces or other people's choices. You are a creator, once unconscious, but now able to create with intention. If you built the life you have today, you can build a better one tomorrow. The same mind that made old choices can make new ones. The same hands that shaped your present can build a different future. The same heart that followed certain priorities can choose better ones. This isn't about perfection or controlling every outcome. It's about recognizing that in any situation, you still have choices, how to respond, how to interpret, how to move forward. Even in moments that are truly unfair, you hold the power to decide your response, and that decision shapes what comes next. Picture being handed a blank journal. No one else can write in it, only you. Would you pass it back and say, "Write it for me?" Or would you take the pen and begin shaping the story you truly want? That journal is your life. Every day you're handed fresh pages. You can fill them with complaints about yesterday's mistakes, or you can write new chapters that move your story forward. You can dwell on the errors of the past, or turn them into plot points that make your journey more compelling. Yet most people, when given this journal, start explaining why they can't write well, why their ideas aren't good enough, why someone else should help, or why the timing isn't right. But while they're making excuses, the pages remain blank, and time keeps turning. What excuses are still holding you hostage? What truths are you avoiding? Take an honest inventory. Where are you still waiting for permission only you can grant yourself? Where are you hoping for conditions that may never come? Where are you blaming circumstances you could actually influence, or attitudes you could change? Excuses may feel like protection, but in reality, they are prisons. They keep you safe from the risk of failing, but also from the possibility of succeeding. They may shield you from disappointment, but they also block you from achievement. Responsibility might look like pressure, but in truth, it's pure opportunity. The day you take full ownership is the day you stop waiting and start creating. This is the moment of transformation. When you stop asking life to adjust for you and begin adjusting yourself to life's possibilities. When you quit waiting for perfect conditions and start creating something meaningful with imperfect ones. When you stop being a passenger and take hold of the wheel of your destiny. The pressure that comes with responsibility isn't a burden. It's the weight of possibility. The pull of the life you could build once you stop making excuses and start making progress. Your environment shapes your mind. You are formed not only by your thoughts, but also by where you spend your time and who you spend it with. The people you allow close, the conversations you entertain, the books you read, and the habits of your surroundings all leave fingerprints on your thinking. We like to imagine we're independent, immune to influence, masters of our own minds. But that belief can be both our strength and our greatest blind spot. We carefully monitor what we put into our bodies, yet often ignore what we feed our minds. We measure the quality of our food, but overlook the nourishment or poison we absorb from our environment, relationships, and daily exposures. Your environment is a silent sculptor, chiseling away at your thoughts, beliefs, and possibilities every moment. Unlike a sculptor who works with hammer and chisel, your surroundings work through subtlety and repetition. A word here, an influence there, repeated exposure to certain values and expectations, day by day, they accumulate, shaping your mental landscape as surely as water shapes stone. Picture someone who spends lunch breaks listening to coworkers complain about their boss, evenings at gatherings filled with gossip, and free time reading stories of conflict and crisis. Who do you spend the most time with? What conversations shape your days? What books, articles, or media are you consuming? What do your home and workspace say about your priorities and values? Are these influences helping you become who you want to be, or keeping you tied to the person you're trying to leave behind? This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. You may realize that some relationships, while comfortable, are actually holding you back. You may see that your environment is cluttered with reminders of past failures instead of inspiration for future success. Or that your reading diet is heavy on entertainment and light on education. You don't need to shut out the world, but you must shape your environment to support the life you want. That means being intentional, protective, deliberate. Yet this is where many people hesitate. They fear appearing antisocial or elitist. They feel guilty about stepping away from certain influences or upgrading their surroundings. But there's a key difference between being selective and being snobbish, between being protective and being closed-minded. Being intentional about your environment means making conscious choices about where you invest your time and energy. It's surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow instead of those who keep you small. It's choosing books and ideas that inspire and inform, not ones that simply entertain or stir conflict. It's also creating physical spaces that reflect your values and support your goals. Change your surroundings, and your thoughts will shift. When your thoughts shift, your actions follow. And when your actions change, so do your results. This is the powerful cascade of environmental design. When you deliberately shape an environment that supports your best self, it becomes easier to think in ways that align with your goals. Changed thinking leads to new actions, new results, greater confidence, and eventually, a new identity. And with that identity, you naturally seek environments that reinforce your growth. The environment you choose today is shaping the person you'll be tomorrow. Choose wisely, because faith in the unseen is what builds the impossible. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step, but you do need faith, not blind hope, but the conviction that your work, your effort, and your vision matter, even before the results appear. Faith is one of the most misunderstood virtues in the pursuit of achievement. Too often, people confuse it with wishful thinking or passive waiting, as if faith meant sitting back and expecting miracles without lifting a hand. But true faith is neither passive nor wishful. It's an active conviction that pushes you forward when evidence is scarce and encouragement is absent. The faith that fuels real achievement isn't blind to reality. It sees beyond the present moment to future possibility. It's the deep assurance that your consistent efforts, even when they seem small, are building towards something greater. Every lasting creation begins in the unseen before it takes form. The bridge exists before the steel. The book lives before the ink. The life you desire begins with the first hard choice. Think of the cathedrals of Europe, many built over generations. The craftsmen who laid the first stones knew they would never see the spires touch the sky, yet they worked with unwavering care, sustained by faith. They understood their daily labor was part of something magnificent, even if that magnificence lived only in plans and imagination. Thomas Edison conducted more than 1,000 experiments before creating a practical light bulb. Each failure could have been proof that his dream was impossible. Instead, he saw every setback as eliminating one more wrong path, bringing him closer to the right one. His faith wasn't in guaranteed success. It was in the process itself. That's the difference between faith and fantasy. Fantasy expects results without effort, success without struggle, and achievement without sacrifice. Faith expects that steady effort, no matter how hard, will ultimately yield results. That struggle will eventually turn into strength. That sacrifice will produce something lasting. Faith doesn't demand instant results. It trusts in eventual harvest. It's what keeps the craftsman at work long before anyone sees the outcome. It's what pulls you out of bed when no one is watching. It's what carries you through when doubt shouts louder than hope. In the early hours, while the world still sleeps and your work feels unseen, faith is what moves you forward. In those quiet moments, when no one understands or appreciates your efforts, faith keeps your hands steady. Even in dark seasons, when progress seems impossible and setbacks feel crushing, faith whispers that the struggle has meaning. The craftsman polishing wood doesn't need an audience to do excellent work. The writer choosing the right word doesn't need instant praise. The athlete training in the pre-dawn silence doesn't need spectators to give their best. Their faith in the process, in the eventual outcome, in the worth of the work itself, carries them through the long stretches of unseen progress. And it's this kind of faith that builds character in ways easy success never could. When you keep working without external validation, you discover internal validation. When you persist without immediate reward, you sharpen your ability to wait. And when you uphold your standards without supervision, you forge an integrity no outside force can shake. Imagine building a cabin deep in the woods. Day after day you work alone. No one passes by, no one praises, but you believe in what it will become, so you keep building. This is the essence of faith-driven work. There's no audience, no instant gratification, no outside pressure to keep your standards. There's only you, your vision, and your commitment to making it real. The work itself becomes the reward, and the process proves as meaningful as the final creation. In that solitude, you discover something powerful about yourself. Whether your drive comes from within or from the approval of others, you begin to see if you truly believe in your vision or if you were chasing applause. You learn whether your standards are internal or external, whether your persistence is genuine or performative. Do you believe in your path enough to walk it alone? That question lies at the heart of authentic achievement. Anyone can work hard when others are watching, when praise is near, when success feels certain. But the true test of faith is whether you continue when you're the only witness to your effort. When criticism outweighs praise, when success feels far away, walking your path alone doesn't mean walking without purpose. It means moving forward without constant validation. It means trusting your inner compass more than outside opinions. It means being willing to be misunderstood, doubted, even questioned, while pursuing what you know to be right. And yes, there will be days when you feel foolish. There will be moments when you wonder if it's all in vain. But the real foolishness is abandoning your purpose simply because others can't see it yet. Doubt doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has faced times when their path seemed questionable, their effort wasted, their vision impossible. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of doubt, it's how they respond to it. The foolish abandon their purpose when questioned, but the wise turn others' disbelief into fuel for their conviction. After all, if everyone could see it, it wouldn't be a vision, it would just be obvious. The fact that others can't see it yet doesn't make it less real, it makes it more valuable. Faith doesn't need applause, it needs action. When you keep showing up without guarantees, you become unstoppable. This is the paradox of faith. It grows stronger not from certainty, but from uncertainty, faced with courage. Each time you act without guarantees, you expand your capacity for faith. Each time you keep going despite lack of evidence, you build evidence of your own character. Each time you show up when you don't feel like it, you prove your commitment runs deeper than emotion. The unstoppable person isn't the one who avoids obstacles. It's the one who moves through them with faith intact, knowing that external circumstances can't dictate internal commitment. They've discovered that persistence doesn't depend on favorable conditions, but on keeping faith alive. The impossible only becomes real when someone refuses to stop building it. History is shaped by those who refuse to accept impossible as the final word. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every transformation began with someone who looked at the impossible and saw it as not yet accomplished. They understood that impossible isn't fact, it's opinion, one that changes the moment someone proves otherwise. The impossible becomes possible one day at a time, one action at a time, one choice at a time. It happens when faith fuels steady effort, even when no one else sees the blueprint. It happens when you refuse to let others' opinions define the limits of your potential. Your faith is the building permit for the impossible. Use it wisely and construct something that truly matters. And never forget, silence itself is a source of strength. In a world that worships constant noise, silence has become a rare power. If you want real clarity, you must learn to sit quietly, think clearly, and act with intention. We live in an age that mistakes volume for value, chatter for wisdom, and constant motion for progress. The loudest voice often wins the argument, regardless of truth. The busiest person often looks the most important, regardless of whether their work matters. The most talkative person may seem the most confident, but often their words carry little depth. It's an illusion that serves neither truth nor growth. In today's chaos of constant noise and distraction, silence has become not only rare, but revolutionary. To choose silence in a world obsessed with chatter is to choose depth over surface, substance over spectacle. The greatest truths don't come from the loudest declarations, but from the quietest reflections. Many speak only to fill the air, rushing into noise because they fear what silence might reveal. But silence isn't emptiness. It's space, for thought, for clarity, for truth. The real fear of silence is not the quiet itself, but what it uncovers. When distractions fade, unresolved thoughts surface. When busyness ends, the questions we've been avoiding demand answers. People often cling to meaningless talk not because it matters, but because they fear what might be heard in the pause. They jump from task to task, not out of necessity, but to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about their choices and direction. Yet what they call emptiness is actually fullness. Silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of possibility. In silence, thoughts can take shape without interruption, insights can rise without competition, and truth can speak without shouting. In that stillness, the mind shifts from reacting to reflecting, the heart from defending to discerning. The strongest men often speak the least, because they've already weighed their words. They don't react to every insult, chase every distraction, or respond to every challenge. They choose their response, and that choice makes them powerful. True strength isn't proven by dominating every conversation, but by having the wisdom to engage only in those that matter. It's not about holding an opinion on everything, but about having thoughtful positions on what truly counts. Real power isn't shown by snapping back at every provocation, but by offering measured responses to meaningful challenges. The person who embraces silence carries a rare kind of strength, the power of choice. While others are driven by impulse, the one at ease with silence can pause, reflect, and then decide. That pause, that brief moment between stimulus and response, is where freedom begins. It's the space where reactions turn into deliberate action. Think of the difference between someone who immediately fires back at every criticism and someone who pauses to decide if the criticism even deserves a reply. The first is controlled by others' words, scattering energy on meaningless battles. The second directs energy with purpose, engaging only where it matters. Picture yourself by a quiet stream after a long day. The world slows, your breath deepens, and suddenly you notice what the rush made invisible. That is the gift of silence. In stillness, your nervous system finds balance, your mind shifts from racing to observing, and your perspective widens. What once felt urgent fades into the background, revealing the deeper patterns of life. You begin to see the connections between your choices and their consequences. Patterns in your behavior, once hidden by busyness, become clear. Priorities that noise had confused resurface. Values that distraction had buried come back into focus. This isn't laziness or escape. It's vital maintenance for the human spirit. Just as muscles need rest to grow stronger, the mind needs silence between moments of stimulation to think clearly. And just as soil must rest between harvests to regain nutrients, your consciousness needs stillness to restore clarity. When was the last time you truly sat with your own thoughts? Not listening to the world, not drowning in distraction, just listening to you. It's surprising how foreign that feels today. We've mastered listening to others' opinions, following others' directions, consuming others' content, yet we've forgotten how to tune in to our own wisdom and instincts. Listening inward is not selfish, it's necessary. It's the only way to uncover what you truly believe beneath what you've been told, to recognize what you genuinely want beyond what you've been convinced to want, and to discover what you're called to do beyond the pressure of expectation. This inner listening takes more than quiet time. It requires honesty. It means sitting with uncomfortable thoughts instead of rushing to fix them. It means acknowledging fears without immediately trying to conquer them. It means recognizing desires without judgment and being present with your own experience without forcing change. The answers you seek often appear when the noise fades. That's when your values rise to the surface, your direction becomes clearer, and your actions gain purpose. In silence, priorities reorder themselves. The urgent often proves unimportant, while the important rarely demands urgency. From the tangle of distractions, the essential begins to stand out. What you thought you needed to do separates from what truly matters. What you believed you wanted divides from what you genuinely desire. And this clarity doesn't come from thinking harder or pushing more. It comes from thinking less, from simply being. It rises when you stop constant analysis and allow your deeper wisdom to surface. Beneath the noise of demands and anxieties, there is a quiet knowing ready to guide you, if you're willing to listen. Varied values begin to reappear. Dreams silenced by practicality start to whisper again. Convictions once weakened by doubt grow strong. The real you starts to emerge from the version others expected you to be. So don't fear silence. Enter it, protect it. Within it lies vision, strength, and calm. The invitation is not to escape life, but to engage with it more skillfully. The goal isn't to avoid noise forever, but to choose when to face it and when to step back. The purpose isn't to withdraw like a hermit, but to act from clarity instead of confusion, from purpose instead of pressure, from wisdom instead of impulse. Make silence your ally, not your enemy. Create moments of stillness in your day, your week, your life. Guard these spaces as you would anything precious. Use them not as an escape from living, but as preparation for living well. In the sanctuary of stillness, you don't find emptiness, you find fullness. The fullness of your authentic self, ready to guide you toward the life you were meant to live. Time is the only true wealth. You can rebuild a business or regain lost money, but once time is spent, it's gone forever. This truth lies at the center of every meaningful decision you'll ever face. Money can be replaced, possessions repurchased, opportunities can return, even relationships can be rebuilt. But the hours you use today will never come back. Each minute joins the irreversible flow of moments that make up your life. Truly understanding this changes everything. It shifts how you see your daily choices, your commitments, your relationships, and your goals. It changes your perspective, revealing that while time is scarce, what truly matters is abundant. When you realize time is your most precious resource, you begin to treat it with the reverence it deserves. That's why your time must be guarded like gold dust, rare, valuable, and never wasted. Gold dust isn't scattered carelessly. It isn't handed out to anyone who asks. Each grain is considered, each portion measured, every use deliberate. That is exactly how you should treat your time, not as endless, but as a finite treasure to be invested wisely. Your time, when used wisely, should be just as pure and concentrated. Every hour should carry focus. Every activity should serve a purpose. Every commitment should align with your deeper values and goals. Yet too many let time slip away like sand through their fingers. They say yes to things that don't matter. They wait for perfect timing that never arrives. They treat hours like pennies instead of currency. The tragedy of wasted time isn't just the loss, it's the invisibility. When you waste money, you feel it immediately. But when you waste time, the loss is subtle, almost unseen. Hours drift away in idle conversations, trivial tasks, and endless distractions. You don't feel poorer at once, but you are. This hidden theft makes wasted time especially dangerous. It's easy to accept small requests, not realizing how they accumulate into great loss. It's tempting to wait for flawless conditions, while workable ones pass by unused. It feels safe to treat time as abundant, but it drains slowly, like water from a vessel with a tiny leak. Those who treat hours like pennies end up time poor, even with the same 24 hours as everyone else. They feel busy but unproductive, active but directionless, engaged but unfulfilled. But if you want to win, you must become rich in how you spend your time. And that begins with learning to say no more often. That means treating every minute like an investment and asking, will this bring me peace, growth, joy, or purpose? Becoming rich in how you spend time is not the same as having more time. Everyone is given the same hours each day, but not everyone uses them with equal wisdom. The gap between those who achieve remarkable things and those who struggle to reach even basic goals is often not talent or luck. It's how they invest their time. This investment mindset reshapes everything. Instead of asking, how can I fill this hour? You ask, how can I invest this hour? Instead of drifting through the day, you navigate it with intention. And here, the discipline of saying no becomes essential. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that truly matters. Every hour wasted on distractions is an hour stolen from progress. Learning to decline requests, invitations, or opportunities that don't align with your priorities isn't selfish. It's stewardship of your most valuable resource. Imagine walking into a store where every item costs 1 hour of your life. Would you still buy everything you currently choose? That television show costing 3 hours of your evening. Would you pay if those hours were visibly taken from your remaining life? That weekend gathering that requires 4 hours, would it still feel worth the price? Every hour you spend is an hour of your life traded for that experience. The real question is whether those trades are conscious or unconscious. Are you getting good value for your investment or wasting it on poor returns? When you view time through this lens, certain activities lose their charm while others rise in importance. Mindless entertainment suddenly feels expensive when measured in life hours, while meaningful conversations feel like a bargain. Learning new skills becomes a high-yield investment, and rest or reflection transforms into essential maintenance instead of optional luxury. Your time is your life. Guard it and spend it wisely. Place it where it builds something lasting: skills, relationships, rest, and purpose. This isn't about being stingy with your time or stripping away all joy and spontaneity. It's about being intentional with your choices, deliberate with your commitments, and strategic with your investments. Every hour spent building skills is an hour invested in future capacity. Every hour nurturing relationships is an hour invested in happiness and support. Every hour of true rest is an hour invested in health and longevity. Every hour spent pursuing purpose is an hour invested in fulfillment and meaning. The one who protects their time is not selfish, but responsible. They know that by guarding their time, they're also protecting their ability to contribute something meaningful to the world. They understand that by spending time wisely, they model good stewardship for others. By being intentional with their hours, they become more present and valuable in the moments they do share. You'll never regret using time well, but wasting it always leaves regret. This is one of life's most unshakable truths. At the end of your days, you won't wish you had given more hours to meaningless activities, more nights to mindless entertainment, or more minutes to purposeless pursuits. You'll wish you had been more intentional, more focused, and more deliberate with the precious time you were given. Regret from wasted time cuts deep because it's irreversible. You can't reclaim those hours, replay those moments, or undo those choices. Once gone, they take with them the opportunities they might have created. So what would your day look like if every hour truly counted? If every action aligned with the man or woman you aspire to be? This is the invitation to reimagine your daily life not as scattered reactions, but as a carefully composed symphony where each note serves the greater composition. Not as a series of disjointed moments, but as a unified story building toward the climax you are creating. When every hour is accounted for, there is no room for pointless worry or empty distractions. When each action aligns with your best self, your days gain coherence, your weeks become productive, and your months turn transformative. Master your time, and you master your future. Time mastery is life mastery. When you learn to invest your hours wisely, you stop stumbling into a random future and instead create the one you truly want. Each intentional minute builds skills, relationships, and experiences that compound into extraordinary results. When you treat time as the rare resource it is, you realize you hold more power over your destiny than you ever imagined. Your future is being shaped right now by how you choose to spend this very moment. So choose wisely. Yes, challenges will come, and the world won't always slow down. But you don't have to be swept away by the chaos. By mastering your mindset, you gain the strength to stay calm, think clearly, and move forward with unshakable confidence. This isn't about perfection. It's about steady progress, resilience, and inner strength. Carry this truth with you. Your mindset is everything. Protect it, train it, and let it guide you through whatever life puts in your path. You've got this. Wishing you health, happiness, and success. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.